Okay, we are so excited to be here with you guys today for tonight's from Frazzled to Fabulous Hormone class. And we love coming and teaching and sharing our experiences with you guys. So I'm Jared Jarvis. I'm here today with Renee Brummett and Leanne Mason. These two amazing women are two of my best friends. And we love that we get to see each other this way. Otherwise, we're on completely different parts of the country. And it's a great way to be able to connect and share some of our experiences and some of the things that we've learned. So we are excited to have this class for you tonight.
As always, we are not doctors. We cannot diagnose or treat. We are educators and we love to share our information with you. Tonight, our class, we're going to start with a foundation that is super important. And I'm going to kick it over to Leanne because she is our go-to person for food. So, Leanne, let's talk about our foundation.
So, as always, our foundation starts with water, drinking plenty of water. And as we started, I realized I'm like, my water is on the kitchen table from when I ate dinner. But when we get proper hydration, our body is able to function properly. Next, super key to have those cruciferous, and I always slaughter that, vegetables like our broccoli, our cauliflower, kale.
I just say colorful.
Exactly. Color, that's a perfect way, right? Eat a rainbow, right? We're looking for those that
We're not
have
talking Skittles.
compound. What was that?
We're not talking Skittles.
We're not talking Skittles. Definitely not, because those are going to slow our metabolism. Those are going to uh, cause disruption in our hormones, right? So we're looking for those colorful vegetables that bring in the antioxidants, that bring in fiber and nutrients that help with our hormones and balancing our body. Another key is healthy fats. Fats do not make us fat. There is so much misinformation out there. I love the analogy that our ancestors and indigenous people ate full fat foods. They ate the livestock from the land.
I do want to clarify, it was not heavily, highly processed fats.
No processed fats,
Think,
none.
yeah, yeah.
Natural, right? Natural. Eating
Because
grass-fed
Twinkies,
beef,
Twinkies are
eating,
full of fats and they are not,
no.
I would not
Healthy
suggest.
fats that we're talking about that come from avocado, nuts, seeds, wild caught fish. I could go on about the difference between farm raised and wild caught. Guys, wild, as natural as possible, as natural as to the way God created it. Like hormone free chicken, right? Because it's important. Our brains, our hormones, production of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone all rely on healthy, clean, I'm just going to say clean fats from the right sources, right? And then the importance of things from leafy greens, which is our spinaches, our filled greens, as well as whole grains, which is getting harder and harder to find. Do your homework there. Help provide vitamins such as vitamin D and magnesium and these key nutrients that get depleted by stress. And unfortunately, the world we live in, our bodies believe it's in fight or flight so much. We are in a now environment, and it really is messing with our hormones. Lights, computers, things like this are imbalancing our hormones because it's disrupting everything. Another one is that's really good for our hormones is fermented foods. Again, not heavily processed, but sauerkraut, kombucha, kefir. Um, the word just left me. It's Korean, kimchi. Thank
Kimchi.
you. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, right? So making sure that we get good fermented foods that are fermented properly without added sugar, without added garbage. Okay. Then antioxidant rich fruits that come from berries, pomegranates, and our citrus also support cellular health and reduce inflammation. So knowing what you're eating is key. Cooking from scratch as much as possible, knowing where those sources come from is important. If most of your food comes from a restaurant or a box or a freezer, you might want to reconsider. So, Jared, I want you to take over a little bit about why we need proper supplementation because of our food sources.
Absolutely. So, guys, when it comes to our food, as Leanne was saying, clean, natural as much as we can. Really being wise about the things that we're eating is an important part of that. But the reality is, it doesn't matter how many things that we're eating that we're picking up from a farmer's market or other places and as clean as we want. Most of those are still nutrient deficient. And that is the reality of our food today, even versus just 50, 100 years ago. A carrot today is not the same as a carrot 50 years ago. And there's lots of reasons for that. So we won't get a whole into the reasons that that has changed. But the reality is there have been modifications and changes to our food. And so because we're not getting the nutrients that we need, and because we're not getting some of that content that we need to help us process our foods, we all need some, supplementation. And it's right there in the name of it. It is not intended to replace or completely, say that I will just take all the supplements and then I can eat all the Twinkies I want, because that is not the case either. But it's a supplementation to the good food, to the good things that we're doing, just to make sure that we're getting those values that we need and being able to help support our body. Really, and I was just in an event with Dr. Hill, and he was talking about it's all chemistry. And really, when we're talking about our bodies, that's what it is. It's all chemistry. And when we are looking at what our body does with some of these different nutrients and the different hormones and enzymes and different things that we're getting that are naturally occurring. For example, the reasons we need citrus in our drinking water. Our body takes those nutrients and builds basic building blocks for sustained life, vitality, health. Just overall, it's amazing what the body can do when it's given what it needs in a format that it can actually use. Now, that's the key to that also. There's a lot of supplements out there. We've all seen them. They line the shelves at our local grocery stores, and a lot of them are essentially, especially with the minerals, just crushed up rocks and in a format that your body can't necessarily digest. In fact, a lot of those, it's going to be gross. Don't think about it too much. We'll pass all the way through, and you can still read the label on the side of the thing.
Fun story. Fun story. So I have a septic. Our septic was cleaned out today, which we don't have those vitamins. But if you talk to people who clean out septic tanks, they say they are full of undigested vitamins where you can still read the label. And One A Day and Centrum are the worst offenders.
So there are a lot of things that we need to figure out some better choices. And if we're looking at making sure that they are bioavailable, that's going to be key. Now, I love that we've got a fantastic line of bioavailable supplements and in a couple different tracks, a couple different ways that we can take them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and just making sure we're giving ourselves the best possible supplementation. But I also know for a lot of people, ease of use is critical to that process as well. If it becomes something that's too complicated, a lot of people aren't going to do it. One of the reasons I personally love our new VMG I can put that into a thing of water, stir it up, take it, super easy, and I'm done for the day. And so, if we're looking at ways that we can be able to do that, there's some fantastic options, and we love being able to share the power that these supplements have.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about hormones now and supporting your hormones. Your hormones are the chemical messengers that tell your body what to do. They tell your body how to sleep, what to do with your metabolism, how to support your mood, your libido, like how to handle stress. It's super, super important that your hormones are balanced and they're doing things. Starts as teenagers when craziness starts happening. And then you think it kind of smooths out in the 20s, except for it doesn't, because that's a lot of the baby years. You got hormones going up and down, and then you get a little further on, and then you're dealing with teenagers, and that's crazy. And then you get further along, and all of a sudden this perimenopause thing, and men get it also, just throws everything. Guess what? See how stressful that was? Just stressful. Doesn't have to be. There are amazing, we get your food right, you get your or your body hydrated the way it should be. And then when you need a little extra support, that's where we've got some amazing essential oils that come in. First and foremost, and I do this almost every class, is we talk about how essential oils work with the amygdala. Your amygdala is your emotional center. You have one for each side of your brain. It's about the size and shape of an almond. The fastest way to the amygdala is through the olfactory senses. So you breathe it in, goes to your amygdala, down your pituitary, your thyroid, your parathyroid, your hypothalamus, and your whole limbic system goes. Ah. Again, see how I stressed you out there? We don't have to be stressed out. We can just put a drop of oil. And if you have oils nearby, grab whatever you have close by. I've got vanilla right here, which just makes me super happy. And you can rub your hands, breathe in deeply, and your whole body just can relax. So this is a very quick way to help send the right chemical messengers through your body that like we're safe, everything's good. Another one is making sure you put your hands over your heart. This right here sends a signal to your brain that says, hey, we're safe. Again, one of those quick and easy ways. Deep breath. Put a hand over the heart, hand over the nose. Mm. It's one of those quick and easy ways to just start controlling your hormones. Now, for the ladies, let's talk about Clary Calm. And mine is not right here because it is upstairs in the room where I need it most often, right? Clary Calm is one of those from starting your period all the way through it just helps to support your body. And I always tell people roll it low on your abdomen. I have somebody who was like, I do it in a figure 8 over my ovaries. Okay. If that's what you need to do, you can do that. It doesn't have to be complicated. There's also a triangle on your back. We typically call that the tramp stamp area. But that triangle on your back has a ton of nerves that go through there. And so that is a perfect spot, or the inside of your ankles. Like those are perfect spots to get the oils right where they need to go for proper hormone control. So it's one of those really, really great ones. Phytoestrogen. We have so many false estrogen signals from food, from skin stuff, not doTERRA skincare, by the way, but other things that are happening out. We have just tons of signals coming at us, even from the air we breathe, that help, like not help, that hinder our body, and we start producing false estrogen signals. Phytoestrogen helps to support your body in a way that your body starts producing its own phytoestrogen. And I will tell you a fun story about one of my clients who's a man, but I'll wait until we get to the when we're talking about the men's part. But phytoestrogen is like one of those must-have. The bone nutrient complex is amazing. As we get older, especially, we need more magnesium that's going to help us sleep better. And the bone nutrient has that. It's a bunch of other things in it right now, but the magnesium is the one that's sticking out to me. Leanne?
And younger women, starting them on a half dose, if we can support them before they start having the problems, right? So the bone nutrient is 2 capsules twice a day, but I use a half a dose for both of my girls. They do one, and they're in
And
their 20s. My
nice.
grandmother had osteoporosis.
Mhm.
So we're being proactive. Sometimes we need to be a little bit more proactive so that there's fewer things as we age.
Absolutely. Um, I also highly suggest Lifelong Vitality and or VMG, depending on which one. I used to be like lifelong vitality for like everything. I gotta tell you guys, I love the VMG. It's a one and done. It's so simple. It's so easy, right? But some people, their bodies test for lifelong vitality. My son, who has an amazing um, support story for lifelong vitality, he actually prefers that. I thought he'd like the VMG plus, and no, he actually prefers the lifelong vitality. I figured out a very fun, compliant way to tell that story, and maybe at the end I'll do that because it's pretty funny. Uh, Leanne, do you want to talk more about women's support before I go into men's support?
So, this one, as I talked to my husband, I realized it's not just women's support, right?
That's true.
We have some great supplements that support hormone balance in general. And I didn't come back and adjust my handout, but just keep in mind for those who have intrusive thoughts that seem to happen on a cycle, because he jokingly calls it menstruating when he's having the ups and downs, right? He's like, oh, I must be menstruating. And when you combine adaptive with serenity, it helps with some of that roller coaster. And so everyone is different. So I say start with 1 and 1. You may end up doing 2 and 2, 2 adaptive calming blend capsules and 2 serenity restful blend. Now, it is the restful blend, but it's not going to knock you out. It's not going to make you, not be able to function. It actually helps the balancing of the body. And part of that is the lavender. And there are tons of studies about lavender supporting mood. Now, I also know that there are lots of negativity about boys should not use lavender. If you are using proper, therapeutic, tested lavender, it does not have the same side effects as synthetic lavender or lavender that has been adulterated or contaminated. Jared, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what contamination is and adulteration?
Absolutely. So, guys, there's all kinds of ways that we get contamination and we see adulteration in the world around us. First off, I just want to talk about this right here. One of the most common sources that we get some of those xenoestrogens that Renee was talking about. And if this is sitting in my car and it gets warm, what ends up happening is those plastics start to leach into the water. And guess what? We all get them, men, women, children, elderly, young. This does not discriminate. We're talking about a source that is not intentional. There's nothing intentional about that. But there are sometimes contaminations that we see in the world that have been intentionally done. There's a lot of essential oils, for example, that are not pure, that were designed solely for the perfume industry. And because of the way that they were created, there has been contamination, adulteration, blending with other things that were never intended to be there, just so it has a specific scent profile. And sometimes it's unintentional, sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's just all about what cheaper thing can we throw in there to make it work. And if I'm going to put something into my body, I want to be able to make sure I'm putting the best thing in that I can. And so when we're talking about things as simple as a water bottle and those chemicals that get into our body, our body does work on a system of receptor sites on our cells. And what ends up happening is those receptors get clogged and overstimulated, and they sometimes need to be cleansed off and cleaned. And so that's what that xenoestrogen or that phytoestrogen does so well for the estrogens, both for men, for women, for everybody. It is help to cleanse and clean off those receptor sites and make it more receptive to the good estrogens that we're getting and the good things that we're getting. And like both of you were saying, men go through cycles as well, and we see all kinds of things happen. But when we're talking about the way that these things show up in our bodies, it's absolutely unique. Everybody is going to have a different response and different reaction to different things because we're all different people and we all have different chemistries. And when we're getting back to that chemistry, that's where adulteration it has some of the most profound impact. When something is natural, we look at a principle that we love talking about as chirality. And, in nature, a molecule has a ring, has different arms and different things coming together. And when they go to create a synthetic version, what very often happens is this chiral conversion, where instead of it looking like this, it now looks like this. And you can see it's got different arms, it's got different things. And your body looks at it and says, well, it has the different makeup that I need for some of that. And so it tries to utilize what it can, but there's things hanging off in places that it shouldn't. And that's what causes some of the issues that we see, some of the side effects that maybe we see from today's medications, from a lot of things that we take and bring into our bodies that we think, oh, well, it can't be all that different. It's chemistry. It can be that different, and a little change can make a profound difference in our bodies, in the way that our body responds and reacts to the things that we're putting into it. Likewise, if we are dehydrated, our bodies respond differently to different things that we put into it as well. So there's all kinds of things that we should consider, and that we love doing consults with people to be able to help kind of identify some of these things that, if you can make just a handful of changes, one or two little things, and start stacking some of these lifestyle changes on, you can see some profound differences. And some of those are just making better choices about being educated about the things that we're putting into us and making sure that we're getting the best that we can.
Perfect. Thank you. So, regardless of where you are age-wise, especially for females, balance is super incredible. And for males, it's the balancing blend, right? It's grounding us, it's balancing us, and it does such amazing things. I like to use it daily on the bottom of my feet. I also like to mix it with lime and put on my chest so that I'm smelling it. That's one of my favorite things. Now, we've listed in the handouts some things that how they work in specific ways, but I want you to know all of these oils support hormone balance for both men and women. I have had some male clients that actually need the balancing effect that comes from Clary Calm. So don't think that because, well, that's listed for women, that you may not need it for men. When I tend to do consults for men, I'm going to go off of some of those scents that they're not going to feel self-conscious using, right? So sometimes that's the difference.
You mean like
Is
citrus bloom?
I generally stay clear of like rose and jasmine for men if they have to go to work, right? Like
Yeah.
even though those are going to balance the hormones, I'm not going to recommend them twice a day.
And it, if somebody's really trying to balance their hormones, they're not going to worry about it. One of the things that I forgot to put in here is vanilla. Like, I can't believe I forgot to put vanilla in
Oh, and
here.
I didn't put vanilla in either because it's
Madag
incredible.
Madagascar vanilla on your wrists twice a day helps with proper testosterone production for men or women, because
For
women,
women.
we need testosterone also, or our libido tanks. But we don't need so much that we start growing, because if you have an overproduction of testosterone, that's where you start getting the chin whiskers.
But if you have that condition, it also helps balance it the proper way.
That's bringing everything to balance. That's
Almost
what's
stays us
amazing
in
about
balance.
essential oils is they're adaptogenic. They're going to help your body the way that your body needs to balance, not to one way or the other. It just brings it back to balance, which is awesome. When it comes to men or women, see, that's the problem too, is like I had to kind of separate my blog to just kind of help, but
Organization.
organization, but it can be. So Mito 2 Max is one of those that everybody needs, but a lot of times men need it because they're so stressed out and they need that mitochondrial function because maybe they're working out a little bit harder. Not to say that women don't work out hard. I used to be a personal trainer and a bodybuilder, so like I get working out. DDR prime, again, both men and women need DDR prime for DNA damage repair, right? We want to make sure that our cells are functioning properly. Um, Lifelong vitality, VMG plus, like those are must-haves. And then to add to what Leanne was saying before, the Serenity and Adaptive aren't just for uh that time of the month. Like it is absolutely for proper hormone function to stop those intrusive thoughts. My daughter, after she had a baby, she had really bad postpartum, and she will tell you that adaptive and serenity together just calm that that chatter that happens in your head that is not welcome. So those are must-haves. And then I just have a bunch of oils at the bottom of this. Uh, we've dropped the link here for um, the blog post, but Rose helps to calm emotions, support emotional intimacy, and promote overall health. You know what I forgot to put on here also
What?
is wild orange. Wild orange for wild orange helps your big O happen sustainably, longer, more fun. Just so you know, I teach more about that in our intimacy and essential oils class, but wild orange, that's a good one. Ylang ylang boosts the libido. Oh, I should have also put in here. The thing is, you have to get it down to what you can put on here, right? So that's why you come to class because you learn all the extra stuff. But
Exactly.
sandalwood is also an amazing one for supporting hormones and supporting your libido. Frankincense for healthy
Okay, I'm going
cell.
to go back to sandalwood real quick
Okay.
because sandalwood is also super supportive of emotional resilience. And so I put the trio, which I absolutely love because it blue tansy, I'm gonna tell you guys, does not smell well. But if you put 2 parts sandalwood and 2 parts black spruce and 1 part blue tansy together, super incredible for emotional resilience and hormone production. My husband swears by blue tansy on his big toe, but he's learned he applies it with a cotton swab so that his fingers don't turn blue and he doesn't get blue everywhere. But
We just
it
call that Smurf
helps
oil.
him, especially when he has documentation to write for work, helps him stay laser focused and not to squirrel or spiral think. Helps him stay on task. Adding in that sandalwood and the black spruce then also brings in some of that grounding and that the resiliency.
Uh, Sandalwood also helps to support proper testosterone levels in your body. And when we are off camera, I will tell you a very funny sandalwood story. Okay.
Awesome.
Um, There are more oils in here. I'm not going to
Did
read it.
you
You guys,
focus on copaiba in yours?
I did not.
So copaiba taken sublingually or in the soft gel form interacts with the body's, oh my goodness, you guys, the anti-cannabinoid system, which helps regulate inflammation and eases anxious feelings, supports sleep. But it's also key for testosterone production.
That one I didn't know. See, that's why I love coming to class.
So that's something super key for men.
So I have a client who he and his wife are dealing with. He has very low T. Now it has not affected his body the way that normally you always hear about, like a droop that happens if you have low T, right? That hasn't been the problem, but there are other things, mood, especially high anxiety, different stuff. So they went, and we have an amazing uh, medical clinic here in Minnesota. And guess what? They work worldwide. So you don't have to be in Minnesota to work with them. But they started working and upped his, like he was doing these shots for natural testosterone. His body reacted in a way that is very unusual and turned it all into estrogen. He gained weight, started being super moody, and told his wife, like, I'm having hot flashes. I'm like, when they figured out, because they went back in to test and see what the levels was, he really was going into menopause essentially. And was very, very appreciative. Now, Leanne and I talked about this because I was like, oh, this is a little bit of a head scratcher, right? And Leanne suggested he take the phytoestrogen. It worked wonders. In fact, his wife told me that he was asking, like, can you give me some more of those pills? They help me feel better. He dropped 20 pounds that he had put on, like he had put on all this water weight and stuff. So when you're talking about that, the phytoestrogen isn't just for women, it's very true. It's for proper hormone balance. So that was kind of a cool thing. And still just like one of those where you're like, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Those kinds of things never surprised me because of the fact of, my daughter's situation. She has a rare disease and her body does not do what is normal or what it's supposed to do. So often, even the medical community is scratching their heads. And we have just gotten to the point where we say, okay, we're going to do it this way. If you have any additional things that may help, we're open to research them. We don't blindly follow because we have come to find out some of the things that they did early on in her disease actually caused additional, like what Jared was talking about, cause those little extra things to hang out there and cause additional things. So it's always good to have a good basis. There are some resources. You guys were always big on resources. I did link to some of them in mine. I love this one. It is the essential oil hormone solution. There's also living healthy and happy ever after by Rebecca Linder Hensey and Dr. Sue Lawton. There is, and I used it earlier, I think it's in my other room, the essential life books. Make sure, yep, modern essentials. These are great resources. I love in the essential life book, there's a section on women's health that gives specifics, like if this is happening, here's the top 5 oils or supplements and oils or both, right? I
They also
love
have a
that.
section for men's health.
Right, exactly. Men's health, women's health, children. You can look up hormones in general. So know your resources. We are also resources. We have been doing this long enough that we know you can tell us what symptoms are happening and we can help guide you. We are not the end all be all. We are educators. We are not here to diagnose and treat, but we can guide you in the direction that you might want to look and show you some resources, some studies, There are some great studies out there if you know where to find them.
And if
So,
we don't know, we have the resources to ask other people or each other, or we
yes,
will help you find the answer. We like a good mystery.
exactly. So, tomorrow, I talked to Renee about this, and I did not talk to Jared about it yet. But tomorrow, we are going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek about some fun ways. Next week is our class on beginners and essential oils. But we want to encourage people who've been using oils for a while to come for a refresher course. So if you've been using oils for a while, come with at least one question that you need support on. And we're going to play Stump the Experts. And so tomorrow, Rone's going to come with two questions that she'll ask Jared and myself. We'll need to share what oils we would go to and why. I will pick two questions that I will ask Jared and Rone, and Jared will prepare two questions to ask Rone and I. We're going to try and stump each other.
Because we're not going to prep before it.
No
This,
prep,
if
no,
nothing else, it will be like watching a spectacular train wreck.
exactly. So follow us on the AromaVibe if you're not, because every Wednesday we go live at approximately 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central. Sometimes technology throws in a glitch, but come and learn. Join us for our classes. Reach out if you want the replays. Jared and Rone, any last words before we stop the recording and do our Q&A?
Don't be ashamed if you have weird hormone questions. Don't hide, don't like we're so weird especially in America about hormones or anything that might slightly be embarrassing. Guess what? We all have issues and it's no fun to just sit there and suffer in silence. Like we're not going to judge you for any unusual, like we've probably heard it all or been through it ourselves. So we are here to support in any way that we can.
And I love that we have Jared is muted, but I love that for the men, if they're not comfortable, we have Jared, right? Jared's our male expert. So I love that the three of us work together because often, you guys will often say, ooh, let me check with Jared and Rone, you know, let me check just because we all have experienced different things too. And like Rone said earlier, we all experience hormones differently, and it's not a one size fits all. And so having the expertise of other coaches and wellness advocates is key.
Jared, now that you're unmuted.
Now that I'm unmuted, you guys, we're not alone. And really that's where a lot of this goes to is we're all in this together. I wish that there was a perfect owner's manual to figure out everything. And there's really not because we're all unique. And that's the cool thing too, is that we're all unique and we can learn together. And I know I'm constantly learning from these two. So it's fun to be able to do this and bring it on for tomorrow. I'm excited.
Perfect. I want you to also give one new plug. I know you were with Dr. Hill last week. What is doTERRA returning to?
Oh gosh, you guys, part of the culture that built a lot of doTERRA goes back to a technique called the AromaTouch technique. And I have always loved this. I know Renee and I have both been trainers for the AromaTouch technique. And in the early days of doTERRA, and we're talking, I've been doing this for 15 plus years. I actually traveled a lot. And every time I would travel, we would teach an AromaTouch technique class. And even still, with all of that, they say that about 98% of the people in doTERRA have never experienced an aroma touch. And so we're going to be seeing a lot of return to and focus on the aroma touch technique. And guys, this is fantastic because, we know what happened a couple of years ago with the little COVID, whatever we want to call it, thing that went around, and we all had to social distance, and we were asked not to teach. And that was one of the hardest things for me because I loved being around people. And they've kind of opened things up for us again. And now are saying, hey, get back out there, start teaching this again. So we're going to be scheduling some virtual demos and in-person demos. So if you are in Utah, Minnesota, Arizona, wherever you're at, and would like to start learning about this fantastic technique and an easy way that you can be able to share this with your loved ones, we want to be able to talk to you about that.
And if you are not local to one of us, there is a great training online, but then you can join us virtually. And the thing I love about it that they're bringing back is doTERRA cross culture training, meaning that there will be trained doTERRA wellness advocates for AromaTouch. And then, Jared, what's the trainers going to be called now?
AromaTouch ambassadors.
AromaTouch ambassadors. So I am certified in AromaTouch. I am not certified to teach it. I can give it, but I will be working towards becoming an AromaTouch ambassador so I can. But here in Utah, there are several opportunities to go down to doTERRA corporate and take an AromaTouch training course. So you too can become certified. Now, with that, I'm just going to give the caveat. Every state has different laws regarding AromaTouch. So make sure, I'm just going to leave it there. Make sure you know your own state's laws when it
Regarding
comes to
not AromaTouch, but body work.
yes, and AromaTouch is considered body work.
Right, but you can give AromaTouch to anyone for any, like, it's just whether you are financially compensated for that. That's body
Perfect.
work.
That's a good way to say it.
Yep.
So just make sure you're looking into that in your area. So thanks for joining us. We hope you learned something new. We will stop the recording and start our Q&A. Have a good night.